How many are excited to participate in this? Almost everyone. How many of you participated in ethical hacking or some kind of hacking competition? Don't worry. How many of you feel you need some basic training to attend this hackathon? Almost 60%. Okay. So that means work cut out for us. We'll have to do a session. Sorry. So let me go through one of the handout I prepared. I will pass it on to everyone rather than because you want to pass it. Till yesterday, we were under the impression we will be getting a laptop from the security networking guys. So they are still in the process of giving me a laptop because I have to install certain tools, the basic tools for the developers or the participants to get a hands-on experience. Since it is not available, it is planned for next week. So once if we see some need for participation and training, definitely Mr. J will work it out, the schedule, and with me, and we will go from there. Yes. And I did not, first of all, just disclaimer, I did not know his name was Jay. Joe an email saying, Jay will organize it. I said, I don't know who Jay is. So that was one of those things.
Is the base OS we're going to be running is the IBM Bluemix?
Yeah, I'll get into that individual stuff. Sorry. Number one is, I talked to the organizer, in fact, a couple of days back. Their requirement is a critical thinker. That's the first requirement. They might give you some puzzles and try to solve either using your computer or not using your computer. The primary requirement is a critical thinker. Second is team player, working in coordination with your team members to solve a puzzle, because that's all team building skills. And because as an organization we should start doing that. I think anyway. Third thing is, now the cyber security is coming into every part of the product development services. So we have to, at least have to create a culture, whether it is just a programmer or even managers, they have to know the fundamentals at least. So I believe this is one of the starting point where we start every frequent event, maybe every 6 months, whether inside or outside campuses, and start giving them the basic concepts about cybersecurity. Otherwise, we are not going to, because if you look at the competition, most of them, they sent so many engineers for their training, basic training. But the very first training, they even after the first induction, they sent it for security, because the most vulnerable point in the security is the human being, which he is not trained, because someone sends an email and he just accidentally opens. The exploit is in the network and people will be able to get access. So difficult. Even if you have the best software and best defense system, unless we train our employees, we are going to have difficulties. This is one of the initiatives I think management is taking, and we should at least participate. I am ready to participate within whatever extent of my time, because I know some of you all work to 12 hours, 14 hours, just like me, because we have to coordinate something in the offshore, onshore, come back in the office tomorrow. It's a real challenge for everyone, I understand. But unless we make a conscious effort, we are not going to progress. That's it. So I hope you had, I don't want to read through this. The format is Jeopardy. The standard game, Jeopardy. The game masters will come and stand, and the teams will be sitting in the individual rows, and they will ask questions, and someone has to pick up the item and go work and find the solution and post on their Bluemix website, because they will give you an URL saying that for this particular question, you got to go and post the answer immediately. That was the format last time. I believe this time also it is going to be the same. So the group will be assigned individually, and because we go in our company, I think we are already going with the group, right? There I think some individual participants registered, so they had to be put together, because single person doing an event is not that workable. They get frustrated. So always there's a mentorship and team building. It helps you to at least compete effectively. So in our case, at least we have 3 teams, I believe. And do you see any more teams coming in? Because I try to talk to a couple of guys who are really technically good. Just because they have a subconscious fear about this hacking, they don't want to come in. So I try to tell them, hey, if you are good at programming and you are critical thinking, you will be able to. And we will have a session to train you the basic tools, because the ethical hacking and penetration testing classes are 120 hours. We cannot do that with this. We have to have resources and time, all those things. So that we won't be able to do. But at least the basic tools, at least I'll go through the next session, and we'll take it from there. So you know that there are, if you have read this Jeopardy, every easy points 100 points, and difficult and expert is 500. I don't want to go and read this. And there are do's and don'ts that I think they explicitly asked me to do. So go ahead.
Can you give us like an example of like maybe like a 100-point question, or versus like a 500-point question for Jeopardy? Without giving out too many secrets. Not trying to put you in
No. Number one is, I think we can work out maybe in the next session. I'll come up with some samples.
Okay.
Typically, you might see some URL and say what you can change it and hack through a website. Some simple questions, but most of you, I think, most programmers will be able to figure out that. And last year, there were 4 categories to best of my knowledge, because after designing the course, the final day for the actual event, I had to rush to Albuquerque. I couldn't be participating on that. I couldn't participate on the actual event. So while doing the design, I was part of the team. So I do not know finally what all questions they took, but at least know there are 4 broad categories. One of the questions was about steganography. Any of you know what is steganography, or you are an expert? Steganography is hiding information in a file. For example, on the photographs, using the last 2 or 3 bits of because the individual colors are stored in 8-byte, right? 8-byte if it is 8-byte pixel, or if it is 16-bit. So what they do is take the least 2 or 3 bits and use that to encode your message. And if you look at the screen, you will not see, there won't be any difference. And in fact, Bin Laden's team did that, because they sent some messages from one country to another country in the just simple flowers and all included in that. No one knew that there's a message going for attack. So those all are the things people do. So steganography is embedding a message in a non-conventional file, audio, video, or a photograph, or a Word document. Word document, something you see gibberish. So this was one of the challenges they tried to put, and I think someone from the ULR students cracked. That was one of those. And some JavaScript vulnerabilities also were designed. So for example, on a form of post, when you do post, you can embed a script to divert the website posting to some other place, right? So that was another JavaScript malicious code. Third one was SQL injection. SQL injection is when you see the login screen from many of the websites, SQL, if you know, you say please enter user ID and password. So in the password or the user ID, you can put a specific code and get through the SQL and get your OK and get into the data. When we do the class, I'll tell you how that works. It's simple logic. If you say the password equal to, you say 1 equal to 1, or you'll give the original password. So 1 equal to 1 is always will be true, then you'll be able to log in. Unless your script, database script, while before executing the SQL, if it doesn't check, you'll be able to get it. So it's all simple, at least from the exploit point of view or a hacking point of view, it's all simple exercises. So it was not very complicated, it's not real hacking as such, but they had the capabilities on the fly to increase the complexity, because it's Jeopardy style, right? If they see so many people are answering within 5 or 6 minutes, then they increase the complexity, so give more complex questions for the next. So that was the way they continued the whole thing. So I believe when I talked to those folks last time, they said, yeah, that's what, that is the same format they are going to do. But they wouldn't reveal the categories, because obviously if you send the categories. But more emphasis on critical thinking. They give you a puzzle, each group has to think together and submit the answers on their website immediately. Those who post the first and correct answer get the point. And you have anything else? I want to go through the do's and don'ts. Sorry. They are wanting, because don't be malicious, because what had happened last time, some of the teams hacked into other teams' computers. So they all hackers.
It's a hackathon.
No, I think that's why they want to sign up this. Yeah, because last time, again, I always try to make sure that I always say ethical hacking, because if I do a training in hacking, my license can be revoked. I'm not kidding. In fact, after giving the license, they said, any training you do, you have to get certified, and it has to be ethical hacking with that dosing. So I don't want to lose my license. Sorry. So don't be malicious. Also, I think someone tried to bring down the LAN towards the end of the competition to slow down. They did all kinds of tricks, because especially the students, they want to make fun,
So, hackathon, it's gonna happen.
And other items I'm not going to talk about, but few people from this team, I think Jay sent me an email saying that, okay, those who don't want to stay overnight, they have an option? So I asked them. Their answer was, last year I think 90% of the people stayed overnight, males and females. And their recommendation is bring some pillow or blankets in case you want to take a nap. And one of the companies, I think is Southwest Power Pool or some Axiom, they rented a hotel room, one just room. They had a common key. If someone wanted to go and take a quick nap, they can go and come back or something like that. So that was one of those things. Again, I'm supposed to explain you those things. And rules and regulations. You can bring only one computer there. So bring the most powerful. If you can get a supercomputer, yes, sorry. So bring your best computer, and if you bring two computers, they'll disqualify. I have seen that, because for password cracking and all, you can put it in multiple computers and get through that. So they...
SSH out?
I cannot answer that, sorry. You can, yes, you can. Yeah, you can do that and put into your home computer, but that again, if you are using their network, they will know. Okay. So you'll have to use your wireless separate, you have a Wi-Fi device, then you can do that. But that was another thing. Yeah, and also they mentioned, pardon?
Does your phone count as a computer?
No. Listen, you can take as many cell phones if you can write programs to run all your cracking on your iPhone, you are welcome to do that. They said the computer, right?
Jump over to the
And also another one is you cannot share the answers, or you cannot help. Suppose even if you are FIS team, you cannot help this team on this. Say once they classify, and there are volunteers looking around, and so I don't know how we are going to help each other, but I think everyone should be able to independently communicate, I believe, and get through those. And finally, they say game masters reserve the right to disqualify players who don't comply with the decision, their standard rules and regulations. That is number one. Now, I want to go through this standard tools. Have anyone worked in Wireshark? Wireshark? No. That's a network packet analyzer, except Anne. Anne is always working. That's her day-to-day job. So, Wireshark is nothing but capture the all the packets in your network and shows you what is being passed from one network, your node, to another node. I think I can show you. Again, we'll go through a detailed session the next time, but just to give you a feel how that is, how tools work, I may have to give you some brief introduction. Wireshark you can download. I think, in fact, Wireshark is one of our whitelisted application in our ReviewMe. You can download, but you have to be careful how to use it. Some of those things, especially if you might be able to get into subnet, and might be able to tell what to do and what not to do.
You could just download Kali on your laptop at home. You can download it to a USB drive. It has all kinds of great tools. Kali, it's a Linux distribution. It's a beautiful tool.
Yeah, Kali Linux. Yeah, that is the third one. Yeah.
You can run it off of your flash drive, so you don't even have to install it on your computer. I don't have an example here today because I'm not going to put it on a work computer. Don't put it on your work computer. Someone will find it and be amused. But you can run it from a USB drive. You can run it off a CD and not download it into your system. It will just run in minutes.
So if you look at this Wireshark image, this is just a packet capture utility. So if you look at this is actually a sample of me logging into Bank of America website. So essentially the packets going from source and destination you can view and see in the hex. So that is typically used when you want to find out what traffic is going between your PC or a one server or network. Essentially in the network you can use that. So this is one of the standard tools most of the ethical hacking team has to master. I do not know whether they will be needing in this particular competition. There was a talk last time which at least they have to give us. This is one of the preliminary. It's a simple tool. All you need to know what is the source address and IP destination address you want to filter and see what all packets and handshakes going. You will learn. It's not a big thing. The reason they want you to learn, because if there is an unsecured password, that is plain text password, for example FTP, when you log in from one machine to another one, if you use simple FTP, I enter my name Jody and Jody 123, and someone using a Wireshark, you can find out, hey, Jody is using Jody's 123 password. You can use the same password and get through that. So that's why we come up with the secured shell, SSH as the mandatory thing. So even that can be cracked if you have a man in the middle, and it's all complicated. But for this competition, you don't need that. But at least you should know the Wireshark to is all packet sniffers, of network packet sniffers. And Nmap is the second most frequently used tool. Nmap does what it does is you can ping a number of IP addresses and get what kind of software, the operating system running on that machine. And also we can know what all services running, if there's an FTP service running, or is a telnet running, or a HTTPS running, web server running, or database running. You can do this. Is a very powerful tool, and never download that into our FIS. You will be dinged immediately. I don't think they will even allow you to that. So Nmap is the next one. So I will go through, I will give you some session about the Nmap so that you will get some familiarity, because unless you know what is your target machine, the web server, what operating system and what version of the software running, you cannot find a vulnerability for that particular machine. So this is the first step to, that is in the reconnaissance phase of the ethical hacking or penetration testing. So typically in the black box testing, what happens is a third party company comes in and they are not given anything. They say, hey, this our network, test it and tell our vulnerabilities. So black box testing. So they are not given anything, any address. So in that case, what they do is they run Nmap, run all the servers and all IP address ranges, and find out on individual devices, whether it is routers or even the servers, PCs, what are the, first of all, they do a operating system fingerprint, Nmap minus capital S. If you give for an IP address, it will tell you what kind of operating system running in that machine without even you logging in there. So in the reconnaissance phase, you collect all the inventory of the whole network and find out vulnerability. There is if you do a Google, there is something called in one of the thing I think I asked for is item number 5, common vulnerability and exposure exploit database. If you do a Google search, you will find. See, most of the ethical hacking clubs, as and when they find a vulnerability, they post it into a database, and it is being used with, thank you Jody, yeah, which is being used for practicing the penetration test or ethical hacking, both those things. So once you find the vulnerability, there are many tools. Most of the tools I use is called Metasploit. I don't know anyone, have you heard about Metasploit? She knows, yeah. So yeah, it is within in Kali. It's Kali. That's one of the yeah. So in Kali, this is this comes as a standard install. What it can do is it can connect to a remote server and exploit the vulnerability. They are a little bit complicated. I don't think that will be required for this particular hackathon, but I'm just giving you a general idea how an ethical hacking or penetration test is performed. So Metasploit, Kali Linux is the operating system most of the people use, and Windows also they use, but I am not very fond of Windows because the security is weak and the software you run can take a long time. The same software you run it on Linux, it has less overhead, so you will be able to execute it very fast. And have you heard about this OWASP 10? No? No, I won't agree. I think there was one requirement, regs, there was some training for OWASP for developers, right? OWASP 10. No, I can send you that. Unless you click through it and just said yes.
Right, what happened?
Huh?
I'm sure that's what happened.
No, especially in front of the HR people, right? No, I think it was a mandatory test for all the developers. I think it was 2015. I'm pretty sure. No? So, sir, those who said no, take their ID and check whether it's you might have some work for a couple of days now. Um, Also, there is something called Google Hacking Database. It is not actually a database. Google has a lot of features in searching specific websites and for a specific keyword. That I think I will give you because that will be really, really useful for this session hackathon. So I will focus on that. You can also do a Google search and find out what is their advanced search features. You can say website : and then you say only on this particular website, go and find only this. So you can narrow your search, very quick results you get it. And that is one of those things I think it is highly useful, because the moment you find, for example, you run an Nmap to a server. If they give you a server in the venture center, I say this is IP address, you have to find out the operating system of this machine, and you will run a command nmap -s and IP address and the port you will give. So it comes back with saying that okay, this CentOS 3.0 blah 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 and version release something. So you go to a website called Common Vulnerability Exposure website, CVE. You can search that, and it will be able to tell you what version, what software in that particular operating system is vulnerable. Also, it will tell you how to exploit. There's an exploit also. So this is essentially created for all this security professionals. So typically during the training, they make us to do that. They will give you a blank operating system. You have to hack through. They won't even tell you what it is. In fact, they change the operating system's fingerprint. So even if you try to do a Nmap scan, it will say CentOS. Actually, it might be a Windows 2000. So you cannot. So there are multiple ways of confirming those. Next session, I think I will try to organize based on the computers availability and the software install. It will take at least few days. So most probably it is going to be middle of next week, most probably. And that is only if we have enough participants and enough people interested in, because I don't want to force anything to you, because big boss has asked me to do a session. I am just trying to do a session for you, and I don't want you to force, because you all are working. Some of you are working 14 hours. I have seen midnight emails coming from Little Rock guys saying, hey, I'm stuck, and they have to even work on the next day morning 8 o'clock here because they have to be in the office. So I don't want to pressurize, but this is going to be an opportunity which you really, really enjoy. At least last year it was good. This time let's hope that it is going to be good. So I will send you. Thank you for attending. If is there any questions? Okay, I've been talking now. I want you to talk now, sir. Do you have any advice for the next sessions? What do you think? You have any? Yeah, whatever is your plan. Next session, what you would like to hear? Because that was one of the point I couldn't. This in addition to this, what you would like to hear?
I don't know anything, so I can benefit from anything.
Okay. How about you, sir?
PowerPoint's necessary.
All PowerPoints with power. Okay.
If you have them, sometimes you can't get it all covered in a day. So
Yeah. So.
anything that's out there.
Okay. And.
Whatever you have.
Okay. How about you, sir? You. Okay. Nothing specific you want to cover in the next session. Yeah, but that's a very generic term. Yes, ethical hacking.
Yeah, I don't have any hacking experience, so
So okay. He has some experience, so.
Just a little. I definitely need a refresher on all of this.
Okay.
And also I've got a computer.
Okay. Nothing specific you want to cover. At least we'll go through the standard tools. How about you, ma'am? Should be okay? Basics, okay. Say that?
same thing.
Okay. Basics.
Add it, you don't know what
But I have a question. How many of you want to do it on a Saturday or Sunday? What is your preference? Because on a working day, it's going to be difficult to accommodate your production support, or even somehow you're working. What is, I don't know, Jamie, can we do it on a day, a working day, if it is
Well, I think,
Friday?
well, it depends on your availability as well.
Okay,
I
yeah,
don't know
okay.
how accommodating it can be.
Okay.
Whether or not we can offer something weekday, and then if someone can make a weekday, maybe like an alternate session as well.
I'm good nights and weekends.
Right. So just in case, give people at least maybe a couple options and kind of go from there. So whatever your availability is, we
Okay.
can do maybe weekday and then maybe on a weekend if there is enough interest.
So then, yeah, if that's the case, I think let's first do a half-day session. How about that? Half-day next Wednesday, half-day starting 2 o'clock, or I mean 1 o'clock. Is that okay? We can be.
Well-
There again, that you have to get permission from your managers. Or
I can't do it. I can't do it during the regular work day.
okay, okay.
I have coworkers out.
Wow.
Tornado.
So it's going to be difficult for everyone to come to one schedule. That's another. I can give you some pointers. We can have a one-on-one session if you want. But if it's half day, we'll do 2-day session. Half day, something like that. And second day, if he can attend, then he can catch up that. So
You could record them.
yeah, we can do that also. We can do that also.
And then I guess people can just kind of come as long as they can. And
Okay.
then kind of go from here. So we can set some dates and so times, and then have people just we'll provide a space of availability and see what people's availability is based off this.
So let me. I think I have to organize a laptop once. I think most probably in the middle of next week. Tentatively next week. That's what we are planning. Either Wednesday or Thursday afternoon. And based on the response, and if you think one more half-day session is needed, then I am ready to take another. I want you to have two things. But okay, one of the thing I forgot to tell you. How many of you have Windows operating system, PC, laptops? Okay. How many have Linux or MacBook? Both you have. Okay. We need to at least install. You can do those who are Windows operating system. You can install a software called VirtualBox, Oracle's VirtualBox, which you will be able to install on top of it Linux or any operating system. So take this as a homework. Try to install VirtualBox or any virtual machine software which will work for your machine. And after installing, look for Kali Linux 64-bit. Kali Linux 54-bit. There is, I think, and there is kalilinux.org.
I think it is.
Okay. We will. I will send
On
it.
Wikipedia, it'll tell you the official place to get it. Don't get it anywhere.
Don't get it anywhere. I was about to tell. They will tell you. They will download, and you are hacked. So kalilinux.org, I think it is. I will tell you, and that's the only place. I think either myself or I think I will send you a link to that, so that you don't load it anywhere. And also Oracle's website, VirtualBox. These two things you can download, and also anything you try. Again, I am going to take a disclaimer on that, because when I start the training, I have to take a disclaimer and rules and regulations. Otherwise, I lose again my license. Anything what you test after installing the Linux, you have to unplug from the internet, because even by mistake, if you do something and it goes to some website, tomorrow FBI is going to come and stand near your door knocking. Yeah, you hacked into someone. So be careful. The moment you start the virtual machine with the Kali Linux, you have to unplug from your network, disconnect from the network. Your internet service provider, you have to disconnect. because you are new to this, because some of you might be able to know what is happening, but the safest way is unconnect, disconnect from your system. Again, I'll go through the legalities and the process. I'll have to work with you about this. I have a standard document which when I do a training, make the candidate to sign before the training, so that because we represent a company, we cannot take that risk. So I have a form. I will work with you. That's my individual form. We can alter it to a file. If there are no questions, I wait for an email from me what date and time we'll be meeting. But tentatively, either next Wednesday or Thursday, half day session. It might run to 7 o'clock. It might. It depends on your absorbing capabilities. They are very new and you cannot even know the command. It might take time. So be prepared for that. But at least 1 o'clock we'll start in the evening. May go up to 7 o'clock. If it is going beyond 7 o'clock, we'll cut off and then go for another day. Is that okay with everyone? Okay. And you want to take a registration? I think.
I'm just gonna give y'all a form here. It's just when I register y'all online for the hackathon, it asks certain questions. Pay for it, and I can handle all this. It's gonna ask a certain thing. You need a T-shirt, and I need a T-shirt size.
Which one is that?
Same thing that do now. Rules and regulations.
No, I'm not
I think you
Oh, okay. I never tried that.
I want it in writing that
You want
Let-
password access? Not a
when I'm ready to sign all that. So if you'll just take these, scan them, email them to me, fax them to me, in our office them to me, something, as long as I get them that way, I can get y'all all registered. Okay?
Yeah. If you have a minute, if everyone has a minute, one more thing we want to talk about, and Anne want to give her favorite tool on hacking. Go ahead, Anne.
Oh,
You're wanting to.
I just wanted to give you a quick, if you're worried like, I'm going to download what, install what am I getting into? These right here are 4 of your very best hacking tools. And I'm not kidding about any of them. And this is the least powerful of them all. Google is your friend. You can find almost anything via Google. And Stellus will show you how to craft very clever Google queries to get all kinds of information you cannot believe what people send out there on the internet. And you can find it.
You will-
Google is not your most powerful either.
You will find some corporation's admin password on Google. No, I'm not kidding.
Yes.
And even one of the FBI's admin password was exposed and someone found out and they took it out. So Google search, is very powerful because the robots go through the whole pages, web pages, and post all those things. So if you know how to write a right query, you'll be able to get through. Okay, if there are nothing more, I think we close.
I have 2 more tools left.
For 2 more tools, okay.
The most important.
Snacks.
Snacks, caffeine, sugar, salt. Bribe works every time. And a smile. A smile is your very most powerful hacking. Just show up and smile. And they'll either hurt you off or give you what you want.
All right.
Okay then, I think you can close, or you want to go ahead and close? Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you again, Stellus, for your demonstration.
Thank you, sir.
You couldn't even imagine. I wouldn't got far past the first 5 minutes if it was left up to me to present on this. But definitely thank you, Ann, again for your co-facilitation of this event. What we're going to do is just make sure that you are equipped with as much tools and resources that you have available. The last thing we wanted to do was just like have you sign up for this, and then you go into this, as you can imagine, right? And being completely overwhelmed from the event. Definitely, we're going to have a session next week And if there is a follow-up session that's needed, we'll work with Stellus' availability and also with Ann and her availability as well, and making sure that you are equipped and have the tools necessary. But I think it's going to be a great event, a great opportunity, great exposure for you guys as well. And we're going to look prepared to be competitive. We come there to win. So that's why we have these sessions, to be prepared to do so. Any final questions, comments, concerns?
Is there like a list of hacking questions or hacking examples out there?
Yeah, I'll send you out that. There are a couple of websites I can send to you. First one is, as I said, CVE. Just search for common vulnerability and exposure. CVE, search for it. The first Google will tell you what all the common vulnerabilities. But again, that alone you cannot use anyway, because first you will have to find out the remote operating machine's operating system, what all software running. So that you can achieve only through Nmap or a couple of other tools. But that I think we'll go through. Again, even if it is not going to be useful for this particular session, it's going to be a good arsenal in your profile. Yeah, because no one is going to come and tell you, and so at least some basic understanding. Okay.
And then,
yeah, go ahead.
And then, are we supposed to be bring laptops?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. That's personal laptop. I think you have to read that whole thing. I think I did not go through.
I mean, for our training session.
Yes,
Okay.
you can. Yes, you have to. I forgot to tell you that. You have to bring your laptops, and you will not be connecting to the internet at all here, because I will ask the network guys to remove the plug, because we don't want to take any problem, because I already in the process of planning to talk to our top executives, and because when I conduct a training session, it is my responsibility. We don't pollute or even hack this thing. So I'll make sure that all the ports are disabled. That's again my responsibility. I will take care of that, and Ann will help me. Yeah.
Will you set up a LAN?
Something we will have to work it out. Okay. And only for downloading your stuff. That's the reason I am going to tell you now itself. Download your VirtualBox, Kali Linux at home. Get it installed. And there are a lot of, you will see some problems while installing. Google search, don't send me, because I'll be overwhelmed with your questions. Go to the Kali Linux and install that. Basic thing, next time when you come, you have to have your own laptop and VirtualBox installed. Inside the VirtualBox, install the Kali Linux. So we'll go through that. That's a minimum thing. And if you really cannot solve yourself, ask among each other, and still you cannot, copy me, I'll reply to you. Okay.
Also, a lot of people in the security team weren't able to come to this meeting, but they said if we have questions that we can answer, we can still answer them. So, like Chris Sevilius, Danny Mallory, a lot of really
She is working in the security department, cybersecurity department, network and general slave. That we all are, right? Thank you, everyone.
Right. So Stellus, follow up with an email.
Yeah, I will do that.
And we will put all the information that was discussed here. Any final questions? All right. Well, thank you all for your time.
I've been eyeing those chips all.
Again, this is just required for the legal liability and other related stuff, because not the standard stuff we normally teach. And also, there is an exclusion clause. If you all just listen to me, you can do hacking and penetration test once you get certified, because they will take you an oath and just make you sign something which is something similar to this. So for this class, even though I say this for the ethical hacking Jolt hackathon for the downtown in Little Rock, this explicit whatever knowledge and tools what I will explain to you is going to be used only for that, and if you want to use it anywhere else, you got to formally get certified. So you all understood, right? I want everyone's okay. Okay. So you can give me the forms if you don't mind, if you are signed. 1, 2. Now I need some witnesses. Okay. Can you witness for him and can you witness for Ken? Date and time is important because legal guys are always after me. You can also fill up the witness column. You can use his and he can use your, because you are certifying that you saw he signing it. Okay? Hey, HR1 do. Legal guys might put me in trouble if I don't do that. He has a team, that's what I heard. Did someone tell you? I think I heard from you. Wally told me. Yeah. Wally told me that. You all don't report to David. You report. Oh, so then there is.
I didn't know he was actually having his own team.
He's a plant.
Your own man team then.
Right. You signed my witness form. Didn't you?
Okay. Thank you, sir.
I'm gonna make you feel tired of my questions.
No heckling. That's one of the thing I'm going. Sorry, I'm just kidding.
I was wondering if there was a way to detect someone's keyboard settings once you figure out their OS.
Yeah. There are lots of stuff, sir. Lots and lots of stuff. Okay then, let's start. I think couple more guys were expected. I don't know what happened to them, but we might as well start and go from there. And if they come in, we'll do a catch-up session. As you all know, my name is Stellus Pereira. I'm from India. I've been in the industry for close to 37 years. I've been in Little Rock 2005, almost 11 years now, I think. Yes. I did my computer studies from Indian Institute of Science, that back in India called Tata Institute. This one of the Ivy League schools there. It's very hard to get admission there. There are only 35 seats for the whole country. So people write entrance exam, because you have to write entrance exam back in India. Couple of maybe I think more than 10,000 people write that exam. Somehow I got through. I am not intelligent, but I got through. So most of my studies I did in India, other than just the University of Michigan. I did a business management for managers, IT managers. There was one small course, and specific to security, couple of security stuff I have got certified. One is CASSP, that is, I don't want to read the whole thing, and another one ethical hacking, as well as pen test. I've been doing mostly application development, design and development. Few, I think 2000 the beginning of 2000 for Citibank. I don't know whether you know, that's one of the big banks in Asia as well as here. Also, it's one of the popular bank, I believe. But I don't see, only other than the credit cards, I don't see any banks floating around the streets. So they are the competitors for Bank of America and all. So I worked for them for a long time, and I worked in a nuclear power plant in Michigan. It's called Cook Nuclear Plant. So I designed some radiation simulation for the Cook Nuclear Plant. I was there for almost a year, I believe. Then someone here, Little Rock, called me and say, "You have some mainframe experience?" Because Citibank was using ALS for their European banking processing. So someone came from Little Rock and they said, "Since you have experience, why don't you come down?" Okay, I said, I packed my bag and came here, Little Rock. It was for a 6-month project. It's almost now 10 years. It's still not that 6-month project not over, I believe. Also, I am a licensed ham radio operator. I don't know, you know what that is. It's the olden time, just like now, web and other related stuff. That was the in thing at that time, 70s and 80s and 90s. So today, agenda is, I gave you my profile and a mini ethical hacking. I'll try to give you mini ethical hacking, what typically in ethical hacking or penetration test people do. And just to give a run through, you may not know because there are hundreds and hundreds of tools. Typical ethical hacking course runs almost 90 hours and penetration test is another 40. You full day classes. So you can imagine how much material is there. You cannot go through those things. So, but our primary purpose is to at least engage you in security mindset. That is perspective. So that at least the developers or designers or the users of the system at least aware what all things can go wrong, what all precautions should be taken. Those things, at least when you start getting into the security framework mindset, you will understand why it is and why they are asking. Sometimes you all of a sudden you get a regu class, you have to complete this by tomorrow, otherwise you will lose all your promotion, the $1 million bonuses, whatever you were expecting. So at least you'll have little more understanding about the whole thing. So I will do that, and as a part of that, I'll give you 2 or 3 tools which is commonly used to do the penetration testing. Now, do you all know the difference between ethical hacking and penetration testing? There are subtle differences, but for everyone's just basic understanding, I'll explain it. Ethical hacking has a sub-component called penetration testing. You typically go to an organization saying that, okay, the manager says here is a contract, this all of this IP addresses, or sometimes they do black boxes saying, hey, this is global.com. Now it is a black box testing. You got to figure out what all the networks, DNS servers, or the routers, PCs, all those things. You got to figure it out and see the vulnerability. Vulnerability means, hi, you have the front seat we reserved for you. And also, you need to fill up this form. This is a legal requirement. You can write that. So what typically is done is, after signing the contract, you go to the either you go on site or do remotely, do a reconnaissance or spying activity. You collect various details about, you can go to the domain name server registration. So for example, GoDaddy or registry.com, because if you want to be present in the internet, you have to register your server in the internet domain, right? So that is the starting point. They all start from there. Now from there, many things are connected because the traffic comes to the main your servers and goes to various subnets and other things. So analysis portion is you go and find out what all systems they were able to go and look at what is there. For example, operating systems or the software running on each computer, and based on the software running, and they will be able to find out what all the vulnerabilities. Vulnerabilities mean there is some code on a certain condition, you can get additional privileges than the regular guest user or the regular standard user. So those things are identified and reported to the management. That's called the ethical hacking preliminary purpose. But the penetration test, what they are supposed to do is the identified vulnerabilities, you go and prove that, you go and prove and you attack the server, even though it is production. In fact, they don't bring down the server, they will put in a flag. They call it capture the flag. Sometimes you will see some capture the flag terminology used. So at least they will say, I went to this particular server, I changed your admin password on this server and this subnet, this domain. So that is the way they do penetration testing itself. So that at least they prove, even though they said it during the scanning, they had these many vulnerabilities, but unless otherwise you test it, you cannot prove it is really vulnerable. Because most of the organization has a lot of firewalls. In addition to that, you have essentially you have intrusion detection devices or intrusion prevention devices, IDS and IPS. You will hear a lot of buzzwords. You will get used to that. I will not be able to go through all those things, but that's a whole thing. So even if you have some vulnerabilities, the IDS or IPS will prevent you to getting in. So penetration testing typically addresses even if you identify the vulnerabilities, you still was able to go and attack the server. So that is a subtle difference. And for the purpose of our hackathon, last year they had, most of them said there are many questions, some just general knowledge questions about security and computers. Sometimes even they wrote some code, Java code, and asked you what could go wrong in this particular piece. Okay, is this right? Yes. If then else. Simple questions like that. And I think one of the COBOL developer was able to immediately bust the buzzer and got the answer before even all the Java guys. So it is basically your critical thinking. That's what they want. So even though I explain all these tools, I do not know whether you will be able to use, but at least the knowledge will help you. That's what the whole purpose. And original plan was to get a PC and install my tools and do a real demo. PC, it is still in approval. I think almost 2 weeks, not at approved. So I will not be able to do anything today. So, but I have taken out some screenshots and demos which I did in some of the other classes. I'm going to show you those. But you should be able to follow on me because you have. How many have installed Kali? Raise your hand. All. Okay. And can you start Kali first? It's already done. Kali is on. Kali is on. Just to check, go to your console and do man John. We want to call John here. just wanting to check what all things are installed. That is John the Ripper. One. Do you see anything? Or you can just type in John in Unix command line. You seeing something? It will say invalid command or something should tell you. How many you got? 1, 2, 3. Did you say you have installed Kali? Okay, so log in and you are able to log in. Say that again. Okay, monitor. Okay, yeah, you can look at his for time being. We'll in the during that lab session, I think we'll try to help you out. Okay. Everyone, John, got John. Okay, now go and do MSF console. That is Metasploit Framework console. I'm just testing. MSF console, you are getting it? Did anyone get MSF console? You got it. So that is a Metasploit framework. Did you get? No? Still trying? Okay, I think I'll better write it on this side. One is on your Linux. Small letters, okay? I'm writing in capital because so that at least you can see from there. Did I write the spelling right? Console, MSF console. Yes, no, yes. Last line. I cannot remember people's names. Sorry. You are able to do MSF console? No. No. Okay. Okay. We'll give some time. That's okay. And if you got it, you can say quit, should exit out of the console. I'm trying to boot your Kali. I think it is better to show it on your machine. Anyway, by the way, thanks to Matthew Tubbs, he last evening came and hey, you can use mine. So I started with his. Mine, I was expecting at least we'll be getting a laptop fire, so that did not work out till today. So don't worry for now. I think if you are not able to, we will figure it out. Okay. Can the back row read this, or I have to come and read? Or you guys can move to the front. This might be better, you know. Yeah, I think it's better you guys move there. You cannot see here. You are able to see? Okay. But she cannot. She won't be able to see because it's very small there. So as I mentioned, there are typically 6 phases. Reconnaissance or spying. Essentially, you're doing whatever information publicly available about a company. For example, say Bank of America, and you can go and find out what is their registered. Sorry, Matthew is laughing. You can find out their entry point where you have their own web servers running, and from there, people might be able to find out what are the servers inside they are running and operating systems. But the modern operating systems and firewalls doesn't give you much option to penetrate that easily. That easily is underlined. That's why hackers are able to get in, right? Then second phase is once you know their asset. In the reconnaissance phase, essentially you are trying to find out what are the servers, what are their assets, what are the vulnerabilities. So in the military terms, you fly over many countries and try to grab as much as information, or if you are in a submarine, listen to the communication through submarines, and essentially gathering information and planning an attack, right? So reconnaissance or spying. In the case of computers, what they are looking for is number one, computer names, IP addresses, operating system information. That is very crucial, because however you patch your Windows or Linux or Unix servers, every day some vulnerabilities are being found and being posted into the underground economy, that is hacking, real hacking, as well as to the public. So every day you get new vulnerabilities, whether it is operating system vulnerability or even the software installed under that, whether it is Oracle, MySQL or anything, that's getting posted onto the site. So they are looking for those information, operating system, and obviously what kind of service pack, that also is needed, because mostly when someone identify Oracle server blah 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 12c and this service pack version has this vulnerability. So the hackers has to get in those granular details, otherwise they can only think or assume certain things and try to attack, it won't work. So in the reconnaissance phase and vulnerability analysis, they do all this in these 5 items they try to find out. Then once those things are identified, then they go a planning. Reconnaissance, you have passive, active, and in logical security you have physical and logical security. Physical security, you enter at your front door and ask the receptionist and ask certain details, and that might be used. And sometime they come in a big hurry saying that, okay, your air conditioner is catching fire, I need to get in there, was someone call me, and they sneak in and put a small little back door and get away. So that's social engineering. I think Anne Davis, I think she was in a group, she's volunteered to do a 20-30 minute session on the social engineering. So I will leave to that details when she comes back. She should be here by 11:30, she said. So after the one session, I think I'll give 20-30 minutes so that she will explain it. She's also a CSSP certified professional. She works in security. Now, to analyze or at least get a inventory of software, we need to have some tools. These are some of the common tools. There are hundreds of tools. This is what I have used. It doesn't mean that this is what everyone is going to use. Wireshark essentially is a network packet capture software. I will show you what it looks like and do something. So if you see Wireshark, typical screen, welcome screen should look like this. I think the Kali, whatever current version you had, did not, I think you had some driver error. I think I saw in your same thing, right? In your, were you able to get the Wireshark screen up and running? So last time. No? Tried, okay. Anyone else tried? No, okay. But that's okay. I'm just trying to give it. Now this is actually connected to network, but only for demonstration purpose. I'm just showing you the package which is coming. There is nothing secret. You can also download the Wireshark. Only thing you have to get the approval from your manager to do that. The first step is to capture. You'll do a capture option and you say interfaces. It will show you what all things are going there. Then you will select the local area connection. and hit, let me repeat. So you'll say capture, interface and local area connection. If you see here, there are hundreds of protocols being called. The first one which you notice will be ARP, Address Resolution Protocol. If you know the networking, it just give you a brief idea of networking. There are two things makes this internet networking possible. One is every device, physical device, has a MAC address. That is, when you manufacture the PC or your Mac, they put in a MAC address which cannot be changed. IP addresses can be changed. So there is a relationship is kept in the networking infrastructure. Hey, my IP address is blah blah blah, and my MAC address, the device address, which is more of a device level, physical level identifier. So those MAC IP address, for example, when you log in, if you do a IP config, go to your DOS prompt and tell you, because you don't have anything there, since it is a local one, I will do a IP address on mine. In the DOS command, it is IP config. Essential details for you to get out of this your network and transmit packets to other routers which is not in your network, subnet. So this IP address and the MAC address is maintained in the typically in the switches. So when anyone want to transmit some data to you, they will ask, hey, I have an address, IP address. How do I resolve to an MAC address, the physical address? So there is address resolution protocol, which gives you inputs sense. For example, if you see here, it is sending an IP address and who is this guy asking you. Let me stop here. See, it says who has this. Tell this particular person this IP address what it is. So if someone can manipulate this data, saying that okay, I am actually Craig, send me all the data packets which is going to Craig, I can do that, right? If you are, provided we don't have IDS or IPS installed or firewall, you have those things, because everyone cannot start telling the other guy, hey, I am Craig, and they start getting the packets going to Craig's computer. So that is one address. There are many things, because networking itself, if you want to really study, is a separate subject. I think you all in the computer science, I think you must at least spend a couple of months. No computer networking. Okay. So you already knew. Sorry, I'm just kidding. Okay. How about you guys? Any computer science professionals at least did go through the standard engineering, computer engineering? You didn't have to do that? Oh, okay. So what do they teach you? Just basic, no networking at all? No, okay. So basically they start with languages? Sorry. Huh? Oh, that's an optional thing, huh? Oh, okay. Okay. Anyway. First of all, let me ask you, how many people are able to understand my Indian English? Sorry. Okay. Those guys are not able. I think they didn't hear or they didn't understand what I said, I believe. Okay. You will have some difficulty, even though I am in this country for almost 28 years. As you get old, your accent cannot be changed. That's what, is a kind of a EEPROM. It cannot, not even erasable now. Any PROM, you can say, not erasable programming memory. So this is the first utilities I think you can practice. And also, if you can connect two machines, unfortunately you are not able to connect two machines on that, right? No, I want to go through the hub because this only. Yeah. These machines are connected. Yours and both are in hub. So if you do a Wireshark there, and if you try to telnet, for example, you would say telnet into this machine, you will be able to see your password, whatever you are entering by other person, because it is going through the same subnet, and it's not going through a switch because there is no mechanism explicitly directing your packets to him. Because the hub doesn't have any intelligence. Everyone is shared with the same data. I was just wanting to demo that, but anyway, it's not there now. Okay, so I will exit out of this, and this has many filtering mechanisms and all. This is what one of those most of the ethical hackers use this to analyze their what data is being going from another one server to another server once they get in. Now there is an equivalent for Wireshark called AirShark. I couldn't download it. If you download the AirShark, sorry, no.
I had to, apparently my password wasn't, it didn't work out.
Okay, and there is a AirShark. Essentially, you will be able to see all the packets which is going transmitting through this particular device, wireless device. So it's called AirShark. It's something similar to that. I have not used it. Next and very important tool is Nmap. Nmap is network mapping. Originally this tool was for diagnostic purpose. It was developed. You will be able to, even if you are a remote place, I will be able to tell a particular server, hey, I know the IP address. During the reconnaissance phase, we found out there are so many, at least the entry server or the DNS server, and if you are able to send a request to a specific IP address or scan a range of IP address, because when the domain registration guys register you or your server, they give you specific addresses, and if you have hundreds of servers, they will give you, they have to allocate that many number of IP addresses. So the Nmap tool, you can say Nmap and find out what all the servers in this particular IP range. You will say 192.196 and ... Scan all the ports of this particular server. You know the concept of port, right? Some of you. Hello, sir. Ports are entry points of a server. Typically is 16-bit address starting from 1 to 65,335. That many ports are available for a given device, or in this case servers. So the Nmap network mapping tool has a capability with lot of options. Network Nmap, I think you can go to nmap.org and you can get all the commands and options. Essentially that tool gives you an option to scan a set of IP address, a range of IP address. You say starting from this to this, scan and tell me what all software is running on that. I will go a bit more details in the next slides. That is the second software you have. So in your machine you can just do a Nmap and hit enter. Those who are done, you can raise your hand and tell me, so that at least I will know who has done. 1, 2, 3, 4. You got to practice the hackathon, right? Because when they're ready, I want you to practice that. 3, 4. So those who are not got, do you at least have a pound sign on your computer? Yes. And small letters, everything is small letters, Nmap. So don't go by the solve. Whenever I give you a command, always assume small letters. That is lowercase, not small letters, lowercase, to be precise English. Back lowercase, not uppercase. Uppercase, if it is uppercase, I will explicitly will tell you it is uppercase. Okay. So lowercase Nmap. Anyone? Two more people are supposed to. No? Got it? Got? Okay. Let's see whether you can see this or not. You have to switch the monitor. Yeah, got it. So it is a network exploration or port scanner utility. So I am going to do a Nmap. Those who are really interested, I think it's worth visiting the nmap.org and get the list of commands. It essentially gives you the operating system and additional information for the specific server. What was 127.0.0.1? Not ping anyway. Okay. So at least we made sure 192, 126. Yes. Since we don't have anything connected, it doesn't give you any result. Essentially, you can give a range of port addresses and tell you to scan all the servers. Typically, what they do is they do a silent scan so that the IP IDS and intrusion prevention systems or intrusion detection systems won't even realize that people are scanning. So very small little footprint it has. So essentially, I took a screenshot of the one of the servers, and I did a scan nmap -s, that S gives you the operating system, and P is the port range, and A is one of the option, I don't remember. But anyway, if you look at the number 1, are you all able to see that? I think it's difficult. If you want, you all can take the handout. It might be a little more legible. If you want, there's all the slides. I just printed it in case you want to refer that. The last moment I realized, I think we can distribute, if you don't mind, to everyone. Yeah, the whole thing. Yeah, one set each. Yeah. So if you see the number 1 on this server 192.168.226, on 21, port number 21, there is a FTP service running, and it tells you what kind of FTP and what is the version running there. Got it? So this is part of the reconnaissance and finding out what kind of stuff, because as I said, the hackers are interested in what is the computer name, IP address, and what software is running on that machine. So Nmaps, if you are able to specifically tell you, go find out from this particular server what operating system is running. And many of the organizations, they block this operating system fingerprinting, but not all the always they are very meticulous, because they just install the software and run it through. It may not. The hackers, all they need is one machine to compromise. Once you are in your network, you are done. They get the admin control and they start exploiting the whole network. So first thing is identifying the assets what you have, the organizations have, and using this fingerprinting technique of Nmap, you can get what ports are open, what is the service it is running, and what version of the service it is running. If you see 2, it even goes and opens the RSA keys, that is the private key public key combinations of that particular server, and tells you this is running a OpenSSH 4.3, and if you go and do a scan and find out if there is a vulnerability for this particular version, then you can exploit. So essentially the fingerprinting process, or in the process of identifying the server software or what all running on the client machine, this is one of the very crucial step they do, and they put those things in, capture in some text file or CSV file, and then they write scripts and then try to exploit those things. So this is one of the Nmap fingerprinting process. If you go down, it even tells you what operating system, which I did not put that here. I don't know, the mouse doesn't work. Let me show you that. Don't die on me, sorry. See, it even tells you what operating system running on that. Is saying that okay, Linux 2.6, and OS details, it will tell you subversion and 2.6.30. So this all wealth of information which can be used to exploit the machine. You hold on to this information, I will tell you how to get the exploit, what vulnerabilities for a specific operating system I will explain you, but be with me. So in the reconnaissance and vulnerability analysis, this is a valuable tool they run through. And again, in the modern networks, most of this traffic, Nmap traffic, they will block, but there are ways some people even invade through. So can someone reiterate what I said, because just to test, who is going to be the volunteer to tell me what Nmap does? Can someone, anyone in the back benches? Sorry. Anyone, any volunteer, sir? I would volunteer him. I forgot his name. The guy, the guy in the white shirt. Can say loud, because the whole purpose of me teaching is to understand. If you don't understand, there's no point in, you can shut down the whole thing and go, right? You can ask questions. And what does Nmap do? Sorry to put you in a.
Nmap goes to, you can either give it IP address or a range.
Uh-huh. He is ready for hacking it. Okay, good that I am now ready. So first phase of the penetration testing or ethical hacking is to do an inventory. How many servers? There will be, usually if you go to any, even our organization, there will be thousands of 35, 40,000 servers. So you cannot just ping an Nmap and find out this and keep on noting on a text. So what people do is, they spawn out this nmap in multiple machines and give, okay, these my little small zombies take care of this address range you slowly scan and give me the result in a CSV form, and comma delimited format, so that this can be used and processed. So in the reconnaissance phase, that's what is being done. So inventorying it, what IP address, what machine, and what all the software running on that machine, and what is the versions. So as I said, their primary goal is to get those information, right? And this again a continuation, and this is one of the Windows Windows machine. I did a dump of that, and it tells you, I don't know if you all can read, it is telling you there is an RPC, you can remotely log into that server, so there is a RPC protocol running on that. How many of you know what is RPC? Any volunteers? You can remote, unless that is enabled, you cannot log into the machine. So if you know the version it is running, and if there is a vulnerability, we can attack that, right? And also it is saying, hey, HTTP, Microsoft web server is running, daemon is running, that is the third one. And also in the second one, if you see, you all cannot read because it's not that very clear. I think on your hands out you should be able to see that. There is VMware running, right? And it tells you a daemon version of 1.0. These all are simple commands. If you look at that command, this is nmap minus small s minus pn a blah blah blah. Within seconds it gives you that information. So in the reconnaissance phase, there's a lot of stuff being collected. And this is one command which I was wanting to show you. The option to search a range, the /24 means in the IP address starting with 10.0.0.0, 24 is that 24 bit. That if you know the nibbles, every bit is 8 bit makes one 8 bit makes 1 byte on the IP address, right? So it says scan 10 starting from 10 1 through all the 1 1 1, and then you increment from 1 to 2 2 to 3 and keeps on incrementing, like right. So you are asking nmap to scan, essentially first start with this 1 2 3 4. From here go up to 1 byte can represent how many combinations? You don't answer. 8 bit, how many combinations? You are computer science professionals. Yes, I should have told him not to answer, sorry. So 0 to 256, that is 55, 256 combinations, right? So first it will do up to 0 to 55 FF. 0 to, in hex it is FF. So once it scans and goes each port, again you are asking to scan all the ports from 0 to 65,335, that is 16 bit. So a lot of each server, each IP address, he has to go and find out these many addresses. I mean these many ports it has to scan and find out, is there any FTP running, is there any RPC running. That all is done. I think you cannot read that. Okay, sorry, I didn't realize that. Can you at least see this now? So it starts from 0, 0, 1, 0 actually, and completes 0, takes this particular IP address, and this is the port numbers. Sorry. So in this address, saying okay, start with port number 0 and look, is there anything running? You all know 1024 is a standard predefined port which is being used by the industry. For example, 21 is what is it, FTP, Telnet. Anyway, the standard ports are there. So it will first scan the standard known port and report if there is an FTP running or RPC running or HTTP 80, port number 80, anything running on that. So the Nmap sends packets and try to figure out all the 65,000 to be precise, 65,000 plus ports, and looks at those and tells you this is what it is running on those one machine, one IP address. And that it does for, then it will increment to 0, 1, 2, 3. When it hits 255, he will change this into 1 again and start with 0. Understood? So this permutation combinations till it reaches here, right? So there's a lot of things to scan. So when you do that /24, the 3 nibbles, essentially that's what it is trying to do. And report, this is one of the output you get, standard output saying, hey, the initial scan, what they typically do, they don't go and do analysis of the individual software running because it will cause a lot of noise. So what they do is at least make sure that, hey, even though this is a theoretical number, is there a server running with this IP address? So it will tell you active or not active. That's what the screen is. And it will tell you how much is the latency, saying that okay, how much time in milliseconds, how much time it took to give you a response. Sorry, I think someone is. Sorry. So at least getting some idea how this thing is being done, because the hacker doesn't have any idea what all IP address is running because it's a black box testing, right? They tell you, oh, this is our domain, that's it. You got to go and find out how many servers, what is their IP addresses. So this is one of the tools they use, Nmap. So you know, once you know at least the IP address range, you can send commands and get what all servers are up. So that is the second phase. They find out, okay, now we know at least there are something running on this. There is a server, it's Windows, Unix, any other IBM machine, we don't know. So first they make an inventory of this list, so then you are shortening the address range or the IP address. So at least you know something is running on that. So from that list, then they go for the details, the last command which I mentioned, which is going the operating system fingerprinting, that is -SPN, which will give you more in-depth details about the application, right? I mean, what is running in there. Wrong button. Are you all getting, or I am making you bored, or? Okay. So once you get this, is typically, as I said, you know, in this map, for this, in fact, this should be the first thing they should be doing. They know this address range. Let's get a list of active servers running. They typically do a couple of times to, because sometimes in the initial scan you may not get all the servers. 2 times, then they merge the list and come with the standard list, and they go from there.
So if you switch the port 32, would it go through all
yes. And that will take a lot of time. Your supercomputer has to work along. Imagine how many packets it has to send through. Okay, There are more ways because scanning, because there are ICMP packets, and I am not going through all the details. What all technique they use is for lack of time. Now, once you identify, there are 3 or 4 common vulnerability exposure databases, CVE they call. Now you identified the operating system and the software running in a specific port, and also version of the software running, right? Now there are volunteer organizations like White Hats or many other organizations, ethical hacking groups. The moment they identify or they know there is a vulnerability, they put in this vulnerability and put it on the database. CVE Mitre is one of the, how do you say this, MITRE? Anyway, that's one of the website, which is one of the popular website for known vulnerabilities. Another one, our US government also puts those vulnerabilities for a specific operating system. You can go and find out, and for a specific operating system, specific software, it will tell you what is a vulnerability. And CVE details, I prefer this particular CVE details. If you go to this, it will tell you what is the vulnerability for a specific operating system, specific software version, and also gives you the exploit to exploit through, because to test that. This is usually used by pen testers. That's why I'm familiar with that site. So don't take the exploit and run it through FIA. Sorry, you will be FBI will be knocking on your door. So I'm just kidding. Sorry. And so during the reconnaissance and vulnerability analysis phase, you get the inventory of these machines and then use those and run through this particular website and find out your vulnerability. So actually, so CVE, if you go to this particular website, anyone can see this. Difficult, I believe. Let me. In the printout, was it clear? I don't know. I think you are able to see that. Yeah, very difficult. Okay, in this screen, what I did is I typed in CentOS. CentOS is one of the Linux variant. Anyone familiar with CentOS? Just a Linux variant. So when I hit that, you can did a search. It came up with so many vulnerabilities for a specific software. You see, it will tell you, because normally they assign a number. If you see there, CVE-2015-5247. Because when the ethical hacking team or any other pen testers or researchers find out there is a vulnerability, they post this. And if you click on that hyperlink, you get the details, I believe. No, this is a different one. Okay, I will show you the detail how to get those. Essentially, if you click on the hyperlink, you should be able to get that. And since I don't want to use that because that's a prohibited, blacklisted site, you should never try. And again, don't blame me on that. You will, the HR or security guys will come and really talk to you. So another site is the government National Vulnerability Database. This is maintained by NIST. That also has similar, but mostly, as I said, mostly used by government organization or even private organization, just as a reference site. Here also you can go and find out the search, go to a search page and even get the details of the vulnerability. This is what I use, cvedetails.com. Good thing here is it will tell you a specific vulnerability, what was the success rate? For example, you have Oracle 11G. Hey, Oracle, don't come and sue me on this. Sorry. I'm going to put this in YouTube if at all. So when you click on this particular vulnerability for that search, if you see on the top, there is a CVE 2016 1984-2555. This is the top one. Just recently in January it was identified, and it tells you one of the hard-coded password. They found out this is one of the vulnerability. There is also a rating. 10 means 10 out of 10. This surely you can utilize that. So you have a wealth of information for pen testers as well as the black market. Because as an organization, security patching and keeping it up to a reasonably secure level is a big challenge, because thousands and thousands of equipments we have. It is difficult to keep up. So if the hackers know there is a vulnerability, they will exploit and demand money. I think 2 days back there was, I believe, one of the hospitals got hacked, and they the data, patient data, they put a ransomware and demanded, I think they paid $7,000 in US, some city. Came on the paper, I believe. And also in Russia, a Russian bank, they went and changed the currency exchange rate and made millions of dollars. That was in the CNN, I believe, right? Is it? Yeah, CNN also. Just change the currency rate from 55 to just 5.5, or make the other way around. You'll get more money, right? No one will notice. So there is a huge black market which uses this exploit, and this all only known vulnerabilities in common internet knowledge base. There are underground thousands of people making money out of this. So in order to patch and keep the equipments and software up to date is a real challenge. So most of the people, anytime when they upgrade the new software, they go and check this thing, because there are no, as of now, there are no automated software available to go and check those things. I think there are some companies, for a fee, they provide those kind of things. I am not aware. There are commercial software. I think Cisco has their own software, and many other companies do have. Anytime when you are installing a software or changing something, they will at least tell you these are all the vulnerabilities. If you do this particular patch. So again, it's a continuous process. It's not that once you install it is done. We don't know, because tomorrow someone else comes with the vulnerability, and then you have to patch those. So it's a constant work. So the reason I like this is, you can go and find out, and it has a rating, what success rates are. 10 out of 10 means every time it will succeed. Now this is what Metasploit. Now once you identify Metasploit, do you all want to take a break for 10 minutes? At least I need some break. 10 minutes if you don't mind. Okay, I think we'll stop for 10 minutes and we'll be back. Now it is 11:30. Let's start. Hope you had a little break from my Indian accent. So as I said, Metasploit is one of the tool used by solve free software and shareware software. You can go download and use it if you know how to use it. It has 3 major components. Can I erase this, or? I was working till last night here. I couldn't complete the PowerPoint slides. I was expecting a laptop, as I mentioned a couple of times. I was planning to do on the fly, but I couldn't, so I had to take an alternate approach. So Metasploit it has mostly, I think it is written in Python. If you go and search, it is written in Python. That is one of the languages used by ethical hackers. So once a vulnerability is identified using the Metasploit framework, what it does is you have a target computer or computers. Not writing well. It's better. So you say computer 1 or server. Let me call it a server 1. Server 2. And you know the IP address. You say, I'm writing some number. You say 21. This is 33. And it at least knows that there's an operating system, what version, and the open ports, what all ports are opened, and with the associated port, what all the software running on it, versions, right? You say FTP you have. Can you read? My handwriting is so bad. I don't think you'll be able to read from far. Essentially, you know, as I shown in my handout, for each machine you at least inventoried and identified what all the software running on this machine and along with the OS version, right? And using that information, you will go to the common vulnerability database, right? And search, hey, this particular Oracle server, blah, 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 and version, you give that, it will list out all the vulnerability, common known vulnerabilities. And using that, we are going to do an attack plan. See, essentially, we have to come out with, hey, you cannot exploit everything. You have to at least identify what is the best bang for the buck, right? So you will identify, for example, in the CVE details, Oracle 12c, a particular service pack had a vulnerability rating of 10. That means definitely you can exploit. I'm just giving an example. Oracle that does not have 10, and with minimal effort, you can attack and compromise the server. So since you identified all those ports and operating systems versions, so that is where you come with a plan saying, okay, these all are the ports, these all are the things running, and what is the best way we can compromise or escape, elevate privileges. Once you get in, you will have to elevate your privilege with a minimum guest user ID to an admin ID. That's the whole purpose, right? If you can get in, if you can get in admin ID, good. You can bring down the Oracle server. So there is a planning session which is part of the post vulnerability analysis. You come up with the list and you come up with the attack plan, saying, okay, these all are the most probable thing we can hit, and we can plan for the attack. What typically people do is, once the list is available, they don't attack immediately. They will create a small little server, for example, Oracle 12c, this particular batch. They will download the software, put it on their server, and exactly match the version of that particular software, Oracle in this case. And then they try to exploit, find out, okay, what is the exploit for that exploit? I'll tell you how to do that. I am going to explain the process, but at least you have to identify what is that you are going to try. So you list out what is the most probable item which you can hit for a minimum amount of effort, and bring that exploit and try it on your test server. So at least you are sure this, because on the target system there are intrusion prevention systems or detection systems watching and monitoring you. So you have very small amount of time to penetrate and get the data, right? So you have to practice. Essentially you are doing a dress rehearsal. I think essentially you are doing a practice session and finding out, okay, what is the success rate with your approach. So once those are identified, then you go to plan for the actual execution of the exploits. So you identified the vulnerability for which server, which version, what software, and also the exploits from the common vulnerability details website. Or you can write, if you are smart enough, you can even write Python and you know the operating system concepts. Yes, you can write. It's a challenge, but people do that. So MSF, Metasploit, gives you facility to exploit the vulnerability with the exploits already written by the pen testers or ethical hackers. So if you go to Metasploit and you say MSF console, the first thing comes is their welcome screen with them. So the method of, so you have the server, this is the cloud internet. Here Luke is sitting with his Metasploit framework. And using Metasploit, he has to tell who is the remote host. He is trying to attack this FTP server of this 21. And what he wanted to do is, once that is compromised, he wants a remote login into that server. So when you send a payload, usually it's called payload. First one is the vulnerability exploit, which is the code written to exploit the vulnerability, which I will tell you how to find out from the Metasploit. Metasploit, when you start, you see there is, it says 1517 exploits, right? You see that in your machine. Did you all start MSF console? Everyone is able to get that. Tell me your numbers, because mine is an older versions. That's all? Okay. And yeah, I think it is yours the same, because that screen I copied from Mr. Matthew Tubbs screenshot. So you all must be having the same. And there are auxiliary payloads also, that I'll tell you, because it's all a little more complicated. For your exercise purpose, you don't have to bother. There are additional stuff in the Metasploit framework. Just don't bother now. And payloads. Payload is what, after you exploit the vulnerability, what you want to do with that. Because it is compromised, and I want to put a payload of remotely logging in. Or you want to get a script, metaprota script, that's a little advanced. So for our today's explanation and lab purpose, let's assume that we want to exploit the FTP server on a remote server ending in 21. Remote host is 10. Let's use the, okay. 10.0.0.21. So after starting the Metasploit, you get a MSF and greater than sign. That's the prompt. Now you can go and search. In this screen I have given an example of Microsoft 15. This is, I think you will get, you can search wildcard search, do wildcard search to find out what all exploits you have it on this your server. I mean your Metasploit framework in a Kali Linux. You can download and update. When you started that MSF, it will tell you whether what version and what all the exploits available, but also it will tell you can go and download from the Metasploit website the latest exploits and payloads. So there are two things we have to do to get things work for you. Once you are after identifying, you know what is the vulnerability, do the search from the CVE details and get the exploits for that. So that is downloaded and put it on your framework, Metasploit framework. You can use that. The first command to search is, okay, I know this MSF 15 is a Microsoft vulnerability, and you are able to see, okay. I always make the same mistake. So if you see here, I did a search on MSF 15. It says there is a MSF 15 which has identified as a excellent exploit you can utilize. It was disclosed in 2015 March 10th. It's a file format, Windows file format for the icon DLL loader. Operating system has a particular function. When you load an icon, it uses one DLL in the Microsoft, and that was reported that had a vulnerability, and someone wrote an exploit for that. Now when I searched that MS15, everything starting with MS15 is shown there. You saw that, right? So this will give you what all things are available on the Metasploit framework. Craig had a question or no? Right, go ahead. Yeah. No. Okay. So once that is identified, the next command to you already identified the server, you identified what version you are going to do and what is the exploit. There are 4 things you have to do. First, you will have to use a command called use. In the MSF, I think it's better you look at your handout. Can you look at the handout and tell me what is on the attack execution page, set exploit parameters page? You cannot read? Can everybody see in the back? Can you read? Is much better, or you are able to see something? See, the first line is a command use USC. You can type in. Okay, you are in MSF console, right? Okay, use, and you type in the exact one. What? In fact, you can do a search before this. You say search MS15. Let's do that. Then you can cut and paste also. Jonathan is already done, I believe. How about you, ma'am? You at least search. You are able to search or no? Search. You got some hits, right? Out of that, you can select the exploit /Windows/file format /MSF15_020 shortcut _icon / you can highlight and use a copy. You can do that in your screen. Everyone able to search and find out, or no? I should have been prepared a little more. Well, 12:30. 12:30 pizza is supposed to come. Someone is supposed to be watching the front door. The pizza guy might run away. No, we don't want to do that, right? So the MS15_020_20 shortcut icon loader, icon DLL loader. Give me 2 minutes. I will make the screen because the screen is very important. You guys have to know that. You can take the front seat. Everyone is anxiously waiting for the. Okay, can everyone see at least the now use set payloads, remote host, local host, that at least that command? Payload you cannot see. I will give you that. Okay. See, there are 4 steps you have to at least before executing the exploit. You have to set it on the Metasploit framework. The moment you say use exploit, which is you identify after searching through the exploits for that particular vulnerability, we identified the Windows file format icon shortcut icon DLL loader has a vulnerability, and we have found out what it is. This is a theoretical stuff because in your virtual box you don't have any windows. So if you try to do that, it will not work unless you find out. I have 2 virtual boxes. I think I will try to show you. One is Linux and CentOS. Both we can try to install and see. It takes time, but I am just trying to give you a theory how that is going to work. So we identified the exploit, and using use command you will enter use exploit Windows file format blah blah blah, and when you hit enter, if you see the MSF prompt changes to MSF exploit. You see that within bracket it says, hey, this is what is, I loaded it, because if it is not there it will tell you, hey, I cannot load those. And based on that exploit, it has certain requirement. Okay, you need to know what is the remote host you are trying to exploit. Remote R is nothing but remote host. In our case it was 10.0021, assuming that is a Windows server. And also you have to set a local host, because after exploit is completed, it has to give you a control back so that you can log in or whatever exploit payload what you are setting. So the second one is the payload. Payload is nothing but, sometimes people get confused on this payload. Payload is nothing but after breaking the exploit, you want to get some result out of it and use that. Typically is a remote shell so that you can log in your machine into their remote box. In this case it is the IP address ending in 21. So the payload also, you can search for the payload. There are usually reverse TCPs. That's what normally you see on a TCP stream. You will get a prompt. Once the exploit is completed, you will on your PC you will be able to see the exploit and you will get a command prompt. That's a reverse TCP, which I cannot demonstrate because we don't have a setup here. And also there is an option local host, because when you are working in multiple groups, you don't want to reveal where this particular thing is going to work. So I will set it up from one machine and say, hey, once you get the connection and exploit is done, put it on my secret machine somewhere else, possibly in China somewhere. So that guy can exploit and use those. So IP address is also given for that guy. So he will get a remote shell login, and if it is Windows, you can do add new if you have, where the privileges are there, you can add new accounts, or even if you can escalate the existing processes and put additional code and exploit the system to advance your privileges from the lower level to advanced level. So 4 things you have to do. You will have to set up the exploit and set the payload. In this particular case, it is remote shell. That's what I set up, and set the R host as whatever is the remote host, and local host is mine. And once that is done, then you will go and do the exploit. You say exploit, what happened? All my exploits are exploited, sorry. You will say exploit. The moment you do exploit, it will come up with whether it is completed or you get a remote shell. Let me get. Or for the purpose of exercise, go ahead and do the same thing. Go ahead and set these commands. Use exploit. Try. MSF console is here, right? If you type in exactly, use exploit Windows file format MSF. Are you getting the exploit prompt? Did you get it? How many of you got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, that's good. 7. Okay. Who did not get? Okay, she's not using the computer, so I'll have to count you 2, sir, then. And set even the same number, and I think the payload also I'll tell you what is the payload.
The same thing.
Yeah. That is there. Windows shell reverse TCP payload. Are you all able to read from the back? Okay. Now there is another command called what is being set. You say show, just say SHOW, show options. Can you try? So it will tell you what is the current exploit, what all the options are set. There are L host, R host, and even L port. It will tell you what is the port number we want to use. In this case, we are not giving you those details, but based on the exploit, for each exploit there are minimum requirements when you are trying to do this exploit. So those parameters, it will tell you what is required. So everyone able to get the show, and it is specifically asking for anything. Can someone read out? Who is courageable enough to read? Sorry. Okay, so that is service port, SRV port, and what is the next one? Each exploit has its own requirements. Yeah, this is a sample. Okay, that is local host to listen to. So in here the thing shortcut I don't. You can put the service host and port number. Local host, that is local host 192 whatever is there. You can even say R host. So this you can set SVR host and number. So essentially when after loading the exploit, it will tell you what all things it is expecting. So based on that, it will give you some kind of a description, and you can set those. Then the next moment of truth comes when you say exploit. Let's try to do exploit and see. Hope no one is connected to the internet, right? By mistake also, right? Ready? You say on MSF exploit, you will say EXPLOIT. Moment of truth. It will give some error, I am expecting, because there is no Windows server running on the IP address there. Worked? Good. What did he say? Okay. Can you speak loud? Everyone can hear.
The DLL with payload for that.
Okay. So, just giving you the steps. May not be able to do any exploits here, but at least you know now. So we identified vulnerability and gone through the CV details database and found out what is the exploit for that, downloaded it, put it on your Metasploit framework, and using the use command, you loaded that into the memory and did a show and saw what all things are required: remote host, remote port, remote reverse TCP, what is that you want to do. Once you hit exploit to the local host IP address, you will get a prompt. If it is a window, whatever prompt you are designed by the reverse TCP. Typically it is a login or command prompt, Windows or DOS. You can say dir, add user, all those things. Unfortunately, I did not capture that screen, I believe, or it's gone bad. Yeah, I think it is here. Still, yeah, this is the place I did a show options. All my screens are now. In my case, because I didn't have anything, so I did an exploit and it was expecting certain parameters. UNC host and you share, it is not there because this is part of your exploit. I didn't have those set. Anyway, just to, so if it is successful, you will get a prompt on your local host if you had another computer. If it is your machine, it will get a Windows prompt. That's a plan. Then you elevate a privilege, or you have a login, you can go and add users if you know how to add. I will not go into those details. I think that you all can practice. So we will break for how many hours you want. At least I need 45 minutes, 30 minutes to 45 minutes. Is that okay? So let's call it 45 minutes if that's okay. One of the slide which I missed. In the attack planning stage, I mentioned once the vulnerabilities are identified, you do a simulation. You get the similar software installed on your little box and do your attacks on that, exploits on that, and reevaluate your success and failures on the simulation box, so that at least you can kind of predict what is going to be your success or failure rates. So that's what people do, because you don't really attack the server till it is ready, right? No, you can. I don't think they are going to go in this sophisticated way, but I want to give you an idea. They, what I know so far, they are not ready to reveal any sample questions unless we register them, because after registration they are supposed to send you some sample questions, which I will give you some brief idea what they are expecting. They have IBM's Bluemix is one of the free hosting site. You can put in your stuff and run it. They, for each team, they are supposed to give you in one box, virtual box or something like that, so that you can play around. And that was, at least last year, it was that is the way they conducted. I don't know this time they are going to water down the question, because last time it was difficult. Only the UALR students got the top prize, I believe. Do you know? I think Space Codes? I don't know. Unfortunately, towards the end, I had to travel to Albuquerque. That day of the competition, I was not there. So planning, I was there, at least prepared. Yeah. You have to believe everything in the internet, right? Yeah. So I don't think it's going to be that complex, but I think their keyword is all the participants should be able to, should be a critical thinker on the field. They should be able to think quickly. Mostly there will be some programming questions, if then else could be, and the Jeopardy leader could change the complexity based on the results or the questions. If they are solving it too quick, they will try to increase the complexity or something like that. That's what I think I heard. So, but anyway, as soon as I think they are planning, it's not registered the candidates yet. I believe they are taken your signature. I believe last time when you all came, they took your name and other details, right? Is it not? I think Christina is going to register at least on Monday, I believe. So then you will individually get some sample questions. That's what they told me. At least the hackathon organizers will give you some sample questions. And also I am going to give you the sample questions. There's a huge archive of hackathon website. I will give you as soon as giving you that. So as I mentioned, so you have to plan during the planning. You have to at least do some kind of a simulation attack and get those things, and make sure that your exploits are ready. At least you are confident you will be able to exploit through. And if something fails on the attack plan, what will be the next option? So you plan for the backup, saying that okay, even though we tested it on this Oracle 9i 12g, if that fails, what is the next best thing you can get to that? So in the exploits ratings, success rating, you will have 10, 9, 8. So be prepared for a couple of those things. If this fails, what is going to be a next action? This again, I am trying to give you the real penetration testing methodology people use when you do a pen test for a company, which 99% of the time for a short period of time, because only 24 hours you can do there. So it's not a practical thing to do at the hackathon, but at least I want to give you a general idea how things are done. Got it? So typically once the exploit is done and you got account got privileges, you escalated, you got into the system, and you have to cover your tracks, because there are a lot of logs. Because for example, Unix, who last logged in, what was ID, what did he do, and there are ways to wipe out that even log, because that's what the security team looks. In fact, Anne's team also looks at, hey, someone came in and did this. She reports that, and not, yeah. And also they look for the tripwire log. I think tripwire is one of those things which is also in software, which inventories. I'm diverting the subject for explaining you how the this logs works. Anytime when you log into a machine, don't think that, hey, no one will know. Most of the things are recorded. Who came in what time, through what IP address, and sometimes even the commands you used. It's all logged. That makes Ant's life a little more easier. And they have their own tools. And if somebody modified some of the operating system files or anything, they have a way of finding out. Tripwire is one of the popular software which is installed in Unix. I know, I don't know about Windows. Windows also has those equivalent, or okay. What essentially it does is, all the files, important executable files or scripts, it runs through and takes a signature, MD5 or SHA-5, and store the file name, date and time, and the value, the hash value, the signature, not on the same system. If you store it on the same system, hacker can even change that. So it is always on a remote server, they put it. And periodically, they will do an audit. Hey, last time when we updated this particular server 10.10.21, this was my signature files for this particular, for example, Windows API 32.dll or 64.dll. The signature was this, and date and time. Anything changed in the server, so they matched that particular value with what is currently there, so that at least you know someone came in. Date and time can be tampered because there are ways of keeping the old date and time, because there is you can bypass the operating system not updating those files. But at least the signature will not. If you are familiar with, do you know what is a digital hash for a file? No. I think after this session I'll go through the standard security slides to give you a brief idea about those things. Essentially it just goes through all the bytes and compute a long number, 32-bit number. And even one bit is changed, the number will be different. That's a signature. So what it does is, periodically it takes a tripwire, keeps an image in some remote server about your server, what was the file, what is the file name, date and time, and the signature, more importantly the signature. And next time when they do a scan and come, and it could be periodically or every day they can do something change, go and find out what change or what date. If signatures change, then they will go through their update log. Okay, is there any service packs applied by the security guys? They have to confirm, yes. If it is, then they'll approve. Otherwise, this considered as a what is a technical term? Suspicious compromise machine. Sorry, compromise machine. So that is taken out of the network so that for analysis. That's the way all these thousands and thousands of servers are monitored, because highly impossible someone to go and verify individual files. So all these thousands of files in your operating system or anywhere, executable shell scripts, those things which is susceptible to the attacks, they monitor that with a signature. That's the brief idea for keeping your servers clean. And when you are doing the attack planning session, you assign individual, you lead elect a person as a leader. I think in your team, I think you also have to elect, because in the hackathon session, someone has to press the buzzer, I believe. I don't know. That's one of those. Maybe the digital buzzer on your computer you will be doing. Again, you can see that. And formalize the execution plan, because in the plan you are saying, okay, this is going to be a primary attack vector and the exploits for that, and secondary, if that fails, secondary should be there, and then someone to coordinate those. This is the slide which I should have talked before even going to the attack plan, which I missed in the. So now with that, so we went through the attack planning, which I should have covered much before, and we went through the execution of exploits. And next is, where is that? Okay, one of the most interesting topics, brute force cracking of password. There are 2 or 3 popular ones. John the Ripper, more flexible in my opinion. Many people use that. And Kane?
Are like 20 years old.
Yeah, still running.
We're like, hey, check this out. How cool is this? It's still there and still being used and still effective.
Yeah. Compared to Cain and Abel, I think Cain and Abel you cannot use dictionary patterns. I think is difficult to use. That's why I think John the Ripper has a lot of dictionary. You can give a word dictionary, because many people use some word in the dictionary and 1, 2, 3, something like that. Because there was some analysis done by Florida State University, the whole Florida state. More than 80% of the household passwords, either they have first name and last name and 1, 2, 3. So how easy. And there are, yeah, you're from Florida? So. Okay. Yeah. So the John the Ripper, I will go through a little more detail in depth. I think when we do the session, we'll practice session, we can go through. And Cain and Abel also essentially does that. How many are familiar with Linux and Unix operating systems? Raise your hand. 1, 2, 3, 3 of those. The examples I have taken on this session is mostly from Unix. I will show you what exactly, just Unix perspective. In Unix, there is a folder called, let me see, etc password. etc is the folder and password is the password folder, and you see root, and the password won't be shown here. There is a file called shadow. Shadow is which normally no one will have access to that. Only that root level user will have that password. Shadow. That's where the password is stored. The password is not stored in plain text. It is usually, at least in the older versions of Linux and Unix, is MD5 or some kind of a digital signature. Hash is stored, and hash is nothing but, as I said, a bunch of text alphanumeric, your password. It goes through a formula and come out with a number. That is what it is stored onto the shadow. So even if you get that, you will not be able to predict what was the original password. For example, Craig 123. You cannot make out from the hash value, because there is no way to reverse engineer directly. There are ways. I will tell you. There are something called rainbow tables. Again, I am introducing another term. What it is they have done is, you take all the dictionary, the names, whatever name or the words in the dictionary, and with permutation combination 1, 2, 3, and create their MD5 hash and store that. It's a huge file. You'll have to, imagine a 8-digit password, because minimum, what is the number of digit password is 8 digit? 8. So 8 alphanumeric, yeah. So 8 digit 2 to the power of 20. What is that? If you use small uppercase, lowercase all together, say around 160 typable characters, right? So 160 to the power of 8, it is that many characters you can have, right? That many combinations. So what people have done is, hackers have done, they farmed all this individual separate password and created all the hash, 8-digit password, all combination you can buy for $150. You can download. And the hash, because they will say, hey, this is Craig 123, this is the MD5 hash for that. So they created a database. Okay, this is a hash for this, because no signature, no MD5 will match with another value. So it is MD5 for Craig 123 is unique to you. So this is the hash file we found from the shadow file. Reverse engineer and get, look at it, it's Craig 123. Simple. So there are hundreds and hundreds of things you can do, but typically take our database. I think in any application we store password with MD5 or SHA 512. So because of this rainbow table, because any combinations, you give the hash, you will get the password. So they came up with a new process called salting the hash, salted passwords. So when you are entering 1, 2, 3, 4 Craig, internally system will add a salt which is not known to anyone. Then create the hash and store it. So unless you have the password and the salt, you cannot reverse engineer. That is the way to get around this rainbow table attack. There are hundreds of things which I cannot cover in one day. There are hundreds and hundreds of things can go wrong, and how people get your password cracked. But for our exercise, I just focused on how to in the Linux system, how to at least crack the password using John the Ripper is a brute force attack. Brute force method, I mean. So this is the etc password file. John the Ripper, I said, gain and enable. Oh, is it going back? Okay. You remember when we compromised the system and reversed this shell we received from the 21 server, we were able to log into an account, and all we need is the etc password and the shadow, which goes along hand in hand, because both needs to be copied in order to crack. So typically what is done is, you go as soon as you log into the server, the system is compromised, you go to etc folder. If your privilege allows you to put a read permission, you will Unix using command, you say chmod O+R, that is give read permission for the folder, and then you have access to that folder. Again, I am not going to go through the details. You can read on the John the Ripper or any password cracking for Unix, it will tell you. And so two files, you will take it and copy it, because you cannot do, your John the Ripper is not sitting on the compromised system, and you have to use your machine. So copy that FTP into your machine, or cut and paste and put it on your machine, and then you can do the password cracking, brute force cracking. So this is a sample which I captured in my machine, because my the current machine does not have those features, so I had to copy. And what I did was, I copied virtual machine 1 shadow original, I renamed it to shadow 1 SRP to put it on to the root shadow, and I edited some of the file and looked at it. Edited means I opened it using VI. Then before running the John, I was wanting to know, is there any already cracked password using John. This just a screen, I don't know whether anyone can hear screenshot, it may not be clear. If you look at the green arrow here, the command I used on this line, you have to take the shadow as well as the root etc password file together and combine that. There is a command called unshadow. Unshadow the password and unshadow the shadow file together and create unshadow's root file. Because John the Ripper expects both shadow and the password files merged together in a particular format. You can read on the man John, it will give you. Assuming that you are done that, you will run the John with a command John. The final file which you created was srp unshadow root srp root vm1 unshadow srp root. That's just a file name I created while doing the unshadowing. This will run for, in your machine it will run because it has to go through all the permutation combinations. John has a very rich text. You can give a dictionary file minus you can do a John and man John. You should be able to find out the commands. You all can do if you want, and it allows you to give you one of the dictionary a word list file, and word list will have all the words you want to combine. For example, you say password 1, password 2, password 3, all those whatever you think. And there are standard known passwords floated in the internet you can download. One guy, what they did is put the Wikipedia, the whole thing he downloaded, Wikipedia, all the words, and that's a huge list, Wikipedia, whatever words are being used, right, many names and all, and give a pattern saying that, okay, use the word first, and middle you use 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 up to 9. All those combinations can be, the pattern can be given to the John the Ripper. It will, if you have a couple of servers, you can run for a couple of days and you'll crack some of the biggest passwords and you can get in. That's what people do. So John the Ripper is one of the flexible tools which can get you the password. So the command is take the first two files, shadow file and etc password, unshadow it so that it is ready for John the Ripper software to use, and that is your key files you are going to use, which essentially takes the user ID and the corresponding MD5 hash and runs through the dictionary whatever you are providing. It can run, because one of the, in my PenTest when I did, I ran that particular John for almost, I think, couple of weeks to get those things. My Mac laptop is very small and doesn't have enough room, I believe. And if you have very good good systems with even GPU, because it even supports, I believe, GPU also, it can parallelly send cracking to all the GPUs and get the results. So once that is done, John usually outputs the file called pot, I believe. Yeah, the result is conveniently named as .pot. Pot, I don't know what significance, weed and pot or something. Does it have any significance? Pot is spelled that way, or POT, .pot, John Pot, POT. That's what I think it outputs as a file with extension called john.pot. And if you see here, the root password for that system was sniper01. See, it used all the dictionary. Sniper is on the standard word, right? It went through all the permutation combination 01, 02, and then he found the match for MD5 and he put it. It took almost a week's time, but he was able to find. So imagine these hackers having so many zombies machines running across all the network, because they, when someone compromises, what they do is put this small little backdoor and keep these zombies running on you, and you never know. When he wants to crack a password, he'll send a small bit of information, farm it to many zombies. He'll keep on cracking the password. Once they find the hit, they'll call home and send you the password. So it's not only your machine, because the machines you have access to, the CPU computing power, that's what it counts. And after this cloud computing, Amazon, you can get one server with 3 or 4 core CPU or 4 core CPU for 5 cents, 10 cents, because they just run it and give you the result, and you are out of that machine. So a lot of people do that, especially for just temporary use like this. Farm 100 machines, maximum you will, if you are cracking a bank password, $100 is worth, right? So there are ways and means people use. So here what I am trying to explain is, John the Ripper takes 2 inputs and uses the dictionary, and you can give a dictionary combination what all way you want to add additional words to the word list. You can script those and give a dictionary and many combinations. That John the Ripper itself will take 1 day full class to explain all the options. It's so powerful. So powerful, you can use those. So that is, once the password you know, you don't need to do any remote exploits, right? You have the password, you can directly log in. So it's a very potential tool, and never install John the Ripper on your live computer. Be careful, because some of the John the Rippers has backdoors. All your keyboard, they might be logging it and sending to their own place. So be careful about that. Download it only through the kalilinux.org, and which comes with the standard Linux. Now the fifth stage of the penetration testing is sustaining the control. Once you compromise and reach the server which we are supposed to test, you escalated your privilege and reached whatever you are wanting to breach, and you have to remove the audit logs, whatever they had. I think she explained. I was trying to explain you. All the logs has to be removed, so that at least there are no trace for someone to come back and say, hey, someone came in last night and copied this itsy password and shadow. That has to be covered. Also, you want to have a backdoor there under the radar, below the radar, because you will have all the intrusion detection or prevention system always watching. So you have to operate under the radar. That's a way to sustain the control. This again, you are talking about ethical hacking and penetration test. So once it is done, you will have to write a report what all your vulnerabilities, and you have standards and other things, and say this server, this IP address, this all other things which we found, this is the vulnerability, and show them the proof, and has to be documented. And why I wrote this confidential, because once I think one bank, after finding out one of the pen testing guys, they sent it to the general security team, and that guy sent it to someone else. So the vulnerability, before even patching, it was gone out. So they ran into hot water. So this has to be the person, because when you sign a contract with any organization, only one CEO or one security point of contact will be getting this report, not the whole team. Remember that. Because you found something which is really, really nasty, someone can get into the system and make a havoc. So that has to be confidential. Lastly, you have to ask for money. We found something, right? So that is in a nutshell about the processes. I said first process is reconnaissance, that is spying and trying to find out what all their assets are, and finding out their vulnerabilities by scanning through their network, that Nmap, using all the operating system fingerprinting commands. Once that is identified, find out what all the vulnerabilities, exploits available for that vulnerability from cvedetails.com, and download those exploits and prioritize what is going to be the best bang for the buck, right? And then you have to plan, okay, how do we execute this exploit? If the first exploit does not work, do you have an alternate? What is the next best thing you can do? And once you are ready, start executing the exploits. I said how to set up the exploit, and how to set up the payload, and also the server, what is the remote host, and the local host where you want to get a remote shell so that you can use, and the port numbers you want to use. Get into those particular machines. After executing, first thing is, what do you want? You know the server, you know the operating system. Now you want the admin password. Copy the passwords and shadows, bring it into your system, cover all the tracks, start cracking on your passwords on your local spawn into multiple machines till you hit the password. Once you get the password, you have this. Soon after, mostly what people do is, soon after you getting the password, you log into that server and change the password. So the other guys will take some time to figure it out, so that many days you have full access. So that's exploitation. Sustaining, I explained you, and also the money. Now I will give you another 10 minutes break, if that's okay with you. I need to drink coffee and I want to be ready for the next session, and some people are falling into sleep. Maybe I think I talk in a way I put people into sleep, I believe. You all can have a coffee. There is coffee on the other side of this building, on always to the end. Or I think there is coffee here, as I forgot. So we will break for another 10 minutes and assemble back.